Man, 2023 is so boring. I just wish I could go back in time. 2007's calling me. I think I better get this. Whoa! Woo! In 2007. Nice. 2007 was a very important year because of the cultural events, political events, and tragedies that still have influence on America today. First, we must go over the cultural events. On June 29th of 2007, Steve Jobs released the very first model of the iPhone, which was called the iPhone 2G or just the iPhone 1. On the first week of release, the iPhone 1 sold 270,000 units, and from then on, the iPhone would become the world's most popular cell phone.
Okay, the iPhone. When the iPhone came out, I was 46, 47 years old. At that time, I still had like the flip phone and the BlackBerry, and I never did get the iPhone, but I remember seeing them and thinking it was so cool because of the screen and everything. But I didn't get an iPhone for probably another 10 years. So my experience, I never had one personally because they were so expensive, and I've always been poor.
So at least the iPhone, it really helped me out. I don't have to use like pigeons anymore because that was really messy. It also cost like a lot of money, and they got lost a lot, and it was really hard to train them. Really expensive. I didn't have to like go on a horse to go anywhere and send a message. It's like all instant now. I just got on my phone. I can just text whoever and just wait for them to respond. That takes sometimes longer than pigeons. And I have like an encyclopedia, like a dictionary. That's the source. I looked that stuff up, and then I got it. It's all in one right there. And I could play like Clash of Clans. We didn't have that back then. Chess, that's on the phone now. You don't even need to get the board out. But yeah, without that, life would suck.
In 2007, when the iPhone was released, that was really just, it completely changed the game of mobile phones. It revolutionized the industry. Before that, the whole thing was flip phones, and that's what was popular. And they were getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And they had their own little keyboard on them. And then in 2007, when Apple released the iPhone, the plastic keyboard was gone, and it was part of the screen then. And the phones started getting larger and larger because you wanted to be able to watch TV or look on the internet. So it completely changed the way phones were used, and it wasn't just a phone or texting anymore. It was movies and music and internet and all these things, and it just completely revolutionized the industry. And it was just a huge leap forward in communication.
On February 6th of 2007, Opportunity, which is the name of a rover launched on Mars, became the very first rover to traverse 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles on the surface of Mars. The rover was launched by NASA on July 7th, 2003, and for the next 15 years wandered on the surface of Mars in search of water.
On the rover landing in Mars, that's just a new frontier for going into outer space. That was just amazing. I remember watching on TV, and it parachuted in, and it didn't land normally. It had a bunch of balls blowing up around it to protect the rover, and it landed and bounced several times, and it eventually came to a stop. And I remember just seeing the footage of all the engineers and NASA. They were all, watching with bated breath, hoping there were no malfunctions. And then when that thing came to life and started sending imagery back to Earth, it was just amazing. This red planet that no one had ever stepped on, and it was just pristine, and it was just amazing. And it's just, and every few years we're getting closer and closer to sending actual people to stay there and colonizing it. And I just think that's very exciting. And it all started in 2007.
Yeah, I remember that, and I watched all the pictures, and I remember when they launched it, and they talked about landing on Mars. And boy, when they first published the pictures and everything, I was all excited, and I looked at everything about that, and I remember thinking, man, it's just a red desert. I can go to Mississippi to see red dirt. Really wasn't nothing much. So it was a little bit disappointing. So. But it was interesting, and I looked at all the pictures because it was so cool.
On July 21st of 2007, Book 7 in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, gets released.
The book Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows came out in 2007. It was the last book of the series, and it was the 7th book that J.K. Rowling wrote. She was pretty inspirational. She was in her late 30s, almost homeless, and she started writing these books, and it just blew up. Our daughter read all the books and was really just loved everything Harry Potter. They have the Universal area that has all the Harry Potter stuff, and it just really blew up. So just to think that she was almost homeless and became the author and followed her dreams, it just shows you that it's just never too late.
Yeah, and did you hear that The Sopranos is going to end this year? That's too bad because I thought it was a really good... Oh, sorry, you caught me off guard. That's it for the cultural events of 2007. Now I got to get into the political events of 2007. How exciting! In early 2007, subprime lenders, which are bankers who loan money to others who have a low credit score, declared bankruptcy. During the summer of 2007, due to the rising of home prices, loose lending practices, and an increase in subprime mortgages, the housing market plummeted and people couldn't apply for loans. Millions of people lost their homes, and about $3.4 billion in real estate wealth was wiped out as a result.
There were many things that caused the housing crisis of 2007. The housing market was booming, the prices were so high, and they had risen over 100% over a short period of time. And the banks would make the loans to people who could not afford them because the government was sort of putting pressure on them to allow more people to own homes. And so they developed a new type mortgage called the subprime mortgage. And for the first time, these people that couldn't afford homes, they were able to get them. The down payments were sometimes practically nothing. The monthly payments on the mortgage were very low. But the people didn't understand that the interest would rise as the rate of inflation rose. And so their house payments would go up, and they went up over 100% and over a short period of time, and the people couldn't afford their mortgages anymore.
From what I remember, in the early 2000s, there was a lot of stock market volatility. People lost a lot of money. So a lot of folks thought that a safe bet would be to invest in real estate. And the value of real estate kept steadily climbing, and people kept investing in real estate and in the housing market / real estate. And a lot of people were given loans that they probably couldn't have, otherwise afforded. The lending institutions were too lenient with the loan criteria, and which caused like an inflated value in housing prices. And then the values plummeted, and people lost a lot of money. There was a lot of foreclosures on houses, etc. And that's what I know about the housing crash.
On January 4th of 2007, Nancy Pelosi made history as the first female Speaker of the House.
In 2007, Nancy Pelosi became Speaker of the House. In her acceptance speech, she said, "This is a historic moment we have been waiting for over 200 years. Always struggling, but not only struggling, but working. This is a historic moment now that men and women can be considered equal."
That is it for the political events of 2007. Now, unfortunately, we must cover the tragedies of 2007. On the morning of April 16th of 2007, there was a deadly mass shooting on the campus of Virginia Tech. 32 students and staff were killed and 17 others were injured. Today, it is still considered as the deadliest school shooting in United States history.
The deadliest school shooting happened in 2007 at Virginia Tech. There were 32 people that were killed, 5 professors and 17 students. At first they thought it was a domestic dispute, so they took somebody in custody that was the wrong person, and lots of things were done incorrectly to capture the assailant. But he ended up shooting people in dorms from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then they stormed the dorm and he ended up taking his own life. But until 2016, that was the worst mass shooting in history. But then in 2016, the Orlando nightclub shooting happened and there were more killings there. But to this date, the school shooting, the worst one, was Virginia Tech. It's very sad.
Okay, what I remember about the Virginia Tech shooting is a young male student on the campus of Virginia Tech went around indiscriminately shooting other, faculty, other students, and he shot people at random. Then he left the Virginia Tech campus and made some kind of recording that he sent to the local media, or he posted it on social media. Then he returned to the campus and continued shooting people. And one of the things that I do remember about that was the first time I recall law enforcement used a remote camera, like a robot, to send in there to assess the situation without sending actual officers in. But that's what I know on that incident.
Although there were some terrible events that occurred in 2007, like the Virginia Tech shooting, we must end on the right note by saying that without the important political and cultural events like the iPhone release, Mars rover landing, release of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the housing crisis, and Nancy Pelosi elected as the first female Speaker of the House, we wouldn't be where we are in society today.